In 1979, my childhood companion and I simultaneously applied to universities. Foolish girl, hurry and fill in the application for Capital University. If you don't, you won't get into any university, ha ha ha. Just as I poised my pen to write, that taunting remark reached my ears. The sudden interruption made me halt, and I turned to glance at my childhood friend. He wore the same familiar, gentle smile, making it nearly impossible to associate that visage with the mocking tone I had just heard. Ichu, why haven't you filled out your application yet? Why are you staring at me? My eyes felt heavy, yet I discerned nothing amiss. I wearily massaged my temples. It's nothing, I just overslept yesterday and feel a bit dizzy. I thought you were talking to me just now. The college entrance examination is imminent. Didn't the teacher say we should maintain a calm mindset and not overexert ourselves, as it could affect our performance? As I opened my eyes, I found myself ensnared in the warm concern of my friend, devoid of any hint of unusualness. It appeared that my late-night studies had induced auditory hallucinations. I responded with a polite smile and OD. As I prepared to fill out the application for the same university as my childhood companion, that voice emerged once more. Haha, foolish one, no matter how hard you try, you will never get into that university. I was taken aback and looked up in shock. This time, I heard it clearly. It was my friend's voice. Ichu, what's the matter now? What's wrong with this woman? The original plot didn't mention that the female supporting character was so easily startled. The latter remark was uttered without any movement of his lips. Tentatively, I ventured, Yuan, I haven't been feeling well lately, just to be safe. I think I want to apply to Capital University. In an instant, the sharp echoes of my friend Gu Yuan's voice reverberated in my mind. How can this be? If you don't get accepted, how will you support me through university? How can I continue to be with Nian Shu? Nian Shu? When Nian Shu? Gu Yuan's cousin, who had been living with his family since high school. Before I could ponder further, my friend's persuasive voice rang out, more genuine than the sharpness I had heard before. Whether it was a psychological effect or not, I sensed a hint of grit in his still gentle tone. And oh, Ichu, we agreed to attend university together and marry upon graduation, didn't we? If you don't apply to Capital University, won't we be separated? Hurry and agree. Hurry and fill out the application for Capital University. The supporting female character must understand her role and not complicate matters. I just remembered that the homeroom teacher needs to see me. I must go check. Unable to discern whether that voice was truly a reflection of my friend's thoughts, I fled in disarray. In a haze of deception, I found myself standing in front of the teacher's office, my mind clouded. Zhou Ichu, do you need to see the teacher? The voice of my homeroom teacher jolted me back to reality, causing a shiver to run through my body, my eyes gradually clearing. Oh, teacher. The deadline for submitting the college application forms is approaching, and I'm uncertain about which university to apply to, so I came to seek your advice. The usual slight relaxation in my teacher's brow was now replaced with a deep furrow, her eyes brimming with concern. Are you all right? Have you been burning the midnight oil again? Your complexion looks quite poor. Unconsciously, I wiped my forehead, my hand damp with cold sweat. It dawned on me that my mental fog was not solely psychological. I was genuinely unwell. Perhaps it was due to dozing off at my desk yesterday, catching a chill. A female classmate, summoned by the teacher, accompanied me to the hospital and notified my parents. By a twist of fate, this classmate was Wen Yinshu. Sister Ichu. How could you be so careless? How will you go to Capital University with your brother like this? Throughout the journey, Wen Yinshu incessantly chattered, her words ringing painfully in my ears. Yet, I could not discern her true feelings. Suddenly, a wave of uncertainty washed over me. Was it merely my imagination that had misinterpreted my childhood friend? In an effort to divert her from pestering me further, I casually inquired, by the way, I've never asked, why have I never seen your mother? Nianshu's grip on my arm stiffened for a moment, her expression awkward as she turned to face me. After a few seconds of silence, she finally replied, why does sister suddenly want to know about this? My heart tightened. I pretended not to have noticed anything amiss and replied nonchalantly, oh, it's nothing, just a headache. I was merely trying to distract myself. Though subtle, I sensed a shift in her aura, a slight easing of tension. Oh, is that so? Brother never told you? After moving to the countryside, she married and had me there, never returning to the city. It's perfectly normal that you haven't met her. No, but if their relationship were poor, why would she help raise her daughter? If their relationship were good, how come she has never visited the city even once? By the time I finished my 4-drip in the afternoon, my father came to pick me up. I had already dozed off at the hospital and continued to review my notes upon returning home. Just as my mother began preparing dinner, Gu Yuan and Wen Yinshu arrived at our door. Auntie, we came to see Ichu. Yuan, Ninshu, how thoughtful of you. Ichu is in her room. Please come in and sit for a while, I'll go and fetch her. Thank you, Auntie. I listened to their conversation from the foyer, instinctively setting down my pen and closing my book. Just as I was about to rise, I suddenly recalled Gu Yuan's earlier thoughts, leaving me with a lingering discomfort.
Ichu.
Tidy up and come out quickly. Yuan and Ninshu have come to see you.
All right.
After calling me, my mother went back to her dinner preparations. After all, we were longtime neighbors and classmates. Gu Yuan was still my childhood companion. It seemed unreasonable to suddenly become distant without reason. I adjusted my mood, mustering the strength to make my way to the living room. Yuan, Ninshu, thank you for coming to see me. Ichu, are you alright? I heard from Ninshu that you had a fever of 39 degrees. Did the 4 help at all?
Fine.
I napped at the hospital and feel much better now. Sister Ichu, I've told my brother many times, yet he still worries about you and insisted on visiting. Look how much he cares. I forced a dry laugh to shift the topic. Thank you both, but the college entrance exams are just around the corner. You should get back to your studies. I won't keep you any longer. At that moment, a delicious aroma wafted from the kitchen. My mother, eager to help me recover, had been exchanging meat coupons all year to provide me with nourishing meals. I could see the noticeable swallow in both Gu Yuan and Wen Ninshu's throats. Wen Ninshu feigned innocence, bringing up the subject. Auntie is making braised pork again. It smells so good. Her eyes were filled with a yearning for the meat. Although Gu Yuan said nothing, his eyes betrayed an equal longing. With a disposition akin to my father's, I was soft-hearted. Witnessing the siblings' expressions, I felt compelled to acquiesce, just as I had in countless instances before. Hurry up and invite us to stay for dinner. Why is this foolish girl so dense today, lacking any sense of the situation? The words almost escaped my lips but transformed into, indeed, now that you mention it, I'm feeling hungry too. You should head home. I need to help my mom and aim for an early dinner. The expressions on their faces were nothing short of theatrical. When Ninshu, reluctant to concede, persisted, Sister, can I try Auntie's cooking? I'm sorry, but there's only a limited amount of food prepared for my family. If you suddenly want to eat here, there may not be enough. Sister, I eat very little. I looked at Gu Yuan, feeling torn. Yuan, what do you think? What is wrong with this girl today? Why is she being so difficult? Forget it. For the sake of a brighter future, I can't afford to ruin things now. Gu Yuan shot a glare at Wen Ninshu. Ninshu, you can't be ungrateful just because my mom didn't make meat. You need to behave. Or I'll have her take you back to your aunt. My heart softened. I normally couldn't bear to hear him say such things to Ninshu. But today, I restrained the instinctive urge to retort. He bowed his head, appearing genuinely apologetic.
Sorry, Yihu.
Ninshu has just had a tough time in the countryside and is unable to resist temptation. I'll take her home now. Why is this tactic failing today? Is this girl losing her mind due to her fever? Noting my unwillingness to relent, he dragged Wen Ninshu outside, creating quite a ruckus, glancing back towards the kitchen several times. Let us go quickly. Mom must have finished cooking by now. Even if there's no meat, every grain is hard-earned. We should go home and eat. Just before exiting, Gu Yuan seemed to remember something and turned back to ask, by the way, Ichu, have you submitted your college applications? Do you need me to deliver them to the teacher? Stingy woman, daring to treat me and Ninshu this way. It's no wonder she'll end up losing both her father and mother in the future. A chill ran down my spine, and my brows furrowed deeply. I cast a sharp glance at Gu Yuan. Ichu, what is wrong? Are you feeling unwell again? Unable to hear anything further, I had no choice but to give up. Lowering my eyelids effectively concealed the emotions swirling within. No, I just suddenly have a stomachache. It must be from hunger. After seeing them off, I stood in the kitchen, quietly lost in thought, staring at my mother's back. Would my parents die?
How could that be?
They were healthy, stable in their jobs, and never did harm to others. If Gu Yuan's thoughts were a glimpse into the future, what could possibly cause their untimely demise in the prime of their lives? Ichu, why are you standing at the kitchen door? If you're hungry, have some cookies to tide you over. Don't linger here. The fumes are strong. I hesitated to leave and sought conversation. Mom, I sent Gu Yuan and his sister away. You're not upset with me, are you? Silly child. There's only a little meat, which was meant to nourish you. Your father and I didn't touch it, so why would I blame you for not sharing? My mother promptly handed me a piece of freshly cooked braised pork. After all this time, it seems my little Ichu is craving meat. Here, take it. But remember to eat sparingly, otherwise you won't have room for dinner or the other dishes. Then, she gently pushed me out of the kitchen. It turned out my mother's true intention was such. No wonder she often appeared displeased whenever I hesitated to invite the siblings to stay. It made sense why she would insist on transferring the remaining meat to my bowl when they naturally piled most of it into theirs, even under the watchful gaze of my father. Otherwise, with my nature, I would often end up with no meat at all during meals.
Ichu.
Why are you dazing at the dining table? Are you still feeling unwell? Do you need to visit the hospital again? I noticed my father returning from work and hurried to stand up. Father, that's unnecessary. I feel much better now. I turned ahead to the kitchen to fetch some bowls and chopsticks. I'll get the bowls. You wash your hands, and dinner will be ready in no time. My father remarked, how obedient you are, Choo-Choo. Oh, we have braised pork today. Why are Gu Yuan and Wen Yan absent? His words momentarily startled me. Since when did our home become a place where delicious food guaranteed the presence of Gu Yuan and Wen Yan? Ah, right. Ever since Wen Yan came to stay with the Gu family 2 years ago, she had taken advantage of her rural background, claiming ignorance of etiquette, and would frequently come to mooch food and drink from us. Look, even my father has tacitly accepted that whenever there's good food at home, the siblings must be present. Without turning back, I replied, Aunt Gu will prepare dinner for them. They can't always dine at our home. Hey, when did you become so protective of your food? My father chided. You must learn to share. Fine, I will call them over. Before I could voice an objection, my mother rushed out from the kitchen.
No.
There are only a few pieces of meat. Even Choo-Choo won't have enough as it is. They eat more than Choo-Choo does. If they come, what will she eat? Dear, is it really necessary to be so stingy? They are both taking their college entrance exams this year. If they succeed, they might even speak well of us. Am I being stingy? You care for them, but you don't think about your own daughter? She is also taking her college entrance exams this year. If her nutrition isn't sufficient, will you take responsibility for that? I had never noticed my father's bias before, but it was glaringly apparent now. And it wasn't directed at me. Instead, it favored the Gu siblings, whom he had no relation to. Had it been in the past, I would have undoubtedly compromised and invited them over myself. Yet, seeing my mother make such an effort to argue with my father so I could have an extra piece of meat made it impossible for me to utter that invitation. In the end, my father stormed out, and my mother and I consumed a meal meant for 3. The braised pork was delectable, and I felt quite full. Yet my eyes couldn't help but sting. So this is what it feels like to be stuffed with braised pork. The next day, before heading to class, I submitted my application to a local teacher's college, following my homeroom teacher's advice, and requested him to keep my university choice confidential. Gu Yuan's parents had always wanted to match us, fervently persuading me to apply to Capital University alongside him. I didn't want to put my parents in a difficult position, so I had to trouble you to keep my college entrance examination intentions a secret. Thank you. No problem. I'm glad to see you thinking so clearly. We must secure a place in college before aiming for a better one. Thank you, teacher. Once in class, Gu Yuan immediately approached me. Ichu, you left earlier than us this morning. Why are you arriving now? Wen Yan's grades weren't as strong, so the school had placed her in a different class. I organized the papers on my desk, not sparing him a glance, and casually replied, nothing much. Just took some time to submit my application. Which university did you apply to? Is it Capital University like me? I gazed earnestly into his light-colored eyes. What if I said it wasn't he? A flicker of panic crossed his features, and he abruptly yanked me from my seat. I stumbled a few steps, knocking over a table, scattering papers everywhere. Gu Yuan, what are you doing? I'm sorry, I didn't mean to. He scrambled to help me gather my materials, but ended up tearing several important review documents. I snatched the papers from his hands, swatting away his attempts to assist. Don't touch my materials. I can pick them up myself. Gu Yuan kept apologizing, appearing flustered. Yet, his true thoughts were far from remorseful. Humph, you stubborn girl. Since you refuse to listen, I'll ensure you can't even study for your finals. Let us see how you plan to attend university. So he had intended it all along. To temporarily placate him, I vaguely hinted that I had applied to the university he hoped for, and he ceased his mischief. That day, I told my teacher I wanted to go home to study, and brought all my essential review materials back with me. Come, daughter, have some fruit. Come, daughter, eat some braised pork to nourish yourself. You look so worn out. My mother decided to prepare all 3 meals at home daily, always bringing me fruits and snacks, claiming they were gifts from her colleagues who had heard I was about to take the college entrance exams. At first, I would secretly leave some for my father. But after I witnessed him take the food he received and immediately deliver it across the street to Gu Yuan and Wen Yan, I had a fierce argument with my mother, accusing her of selfishness for not sharing the good food. From then on, I never allowed my father to see any of the treats my mother secretly brought me or the braised pork she made for me. During this time, I declined all invitations from the Goose siblings to visit. Until the day of the entrance exams, I was cornered by the siblings waiting at my door.
Ichu.
Today is the exam. Let us walk together. Nien and I have been waiting for you. Sister, these buns are prepared for us by Auntie for our exams. Brother saved one just for you. Without waiting for a response, they thrust a paper bag into my arms. Eat up. I've added the sleeping pills Mom makes me take. After you finish, I'm curious to see how you'll manage the exams. I frowned at the buns in my arms, contemplating how to return them when my mother appeared behind me, urging me onward. Choo-choo, why are you just standing there? Hurry, I'll drive you to school. It seemed she had just noticed the siblings beside me. I'm sorry, Andy, but the bicycle can only carry one person. I can't take you both. When Nien pouted, casting envious glances at my mother and then at the bicycle she was pushing. You're so lucky, sister. Andy cares so much for you. Gu Yuan, ever considerate, chimed in. Auntie, Ichu, be careful on your way. Don't worry about us.
We can get to school by ourselves.
Selfish woman, no wonder you can't be the heroine. My Nien Nien is far cuter. Once I get into Capital University, I'll use your family's money to take Nien Nien to college. You'll regret it. I arrived at school before them and handed the buns to my homeroom teacher, asking him to give them to Gu Yuan. The paper bag was just ordinary newspaper. The bun shop near my home used the same packaging. Gu Yuan had worked at a bun shop before, so the taste and appearance were indistinguishable. If one didn't look closely, it was hard to tell the difference. Teacher, these are the buns Gu Yuan gave me this morning. As you know, his family isn't well off. I don't want him to go hungry. Please return this to him, and don't let him know I brought it. All right, go prepare for your exam. Don't waste your thoughts on such trivial matters. After completing my morning subjects, I heard at noon that a student had fallen asleep in the exam room and submitted a blank paper. I didn't pay much attention. Finished the heartfelt meal my mother prepared, and continued to battle through the afternoon session. The next day, I didn't see Gu Yuan, but only Wen Yan. Sister Ichu. Yesterday, my brother suddenly fainted in the exam room, and he hasn't woken up yet. Can you come with me to see him? Such potent effects of the medication. Gu Yuan clearly hadn't intended for me to walk out of the exam room upright. Or perhaps he never meant for me to enter at all. My heart sank. Childhood sweethearts who grew up together, yet he could be so ruthless. Wen Yan, I need to take the entrance exams. You go yourself. How can you be so indifferent? Your brother has always treated you well, and Annie wants to match you too. My relationship with your brother is merely that of neighbors. Please refrain from making such misleading statements. Soon, my mother appeared, and Wen Yan attempted to persuade her. Auntie, my brother is in the hospital. You must take sister to see him. Mom, don't listen to her. Wen Yan is unwell. My mother pulled me away, and Wen Yan persisted, unwilling to give up. Auntie, did you and uncle not agree to hold an engagement banquet for my brother and sister as soon as they graduated from high school? How could you disregard my brother? Upon hearing this, my mother grasped my hand tightly and turned back. A little girl should not speak out of turn. That is simply not the case. Moreover, this matter concerns the Zhou and Gu families. What business do you one, haven't it? When Nianshu had never witnessed my mother's fierce demeanor, and in an instant, she was reduced to tears. Auntie, my mother said impatiently, curling her lips. Crying does not equate to being right. I warn you, do not spread falsehoods outside that tarnish my daughter's reputation, or I shall report you to the authorities. With that, my mother hurriedly dragged me towards our bicycle. Oh no, we're going to be late. Choo-choo, hurry and get on the bike. We must pick up the pace. After the exam concluded, my mother, who had taken time off to accompany me, awaited at the school gate, appearing even more jubilant than I was. Choo-choo. How did you do? Just as I had finished the exam and was starting to relax, my response was somewhat sluggish. My mother immediately adjusted her impending words. Patting my shoulder with earnestness, she said, My daughter, it's all right. If this year doesn't work out, you can find a job first. We'll try again next year. Seeing that I still did not respond, she added, If you don't wish to work, that's fine too. Your father and I can still support you for a year of full-time study. I couldn't help but laugh and enveloped my mother in a warm embrace. Thank you.
Mom.
No need for thanks. Who told you to be my flesh and blood? However, I felt it might not be necessary, as I believed I had performed well and should be able to gain admission. Upon hearing this, my mother's smile began to fade, replaced with pride and excitement. My daughter is truly remarkable. I am proud of you. On our way home, my mother took me to buy some vegetables and meat, claiming she would prepare a grand feast for me. Had I not held her back, she would have spent every last cent she had. Mom, let us be low-key. What if I miscalculated? That would be so embarrassing. My dear, I believe in you. It's not as if you're not capable. You wouldn't speak carelessly. Nevertheless, my mother adhered to my wishes and lowered her voice so that no one could overhear. Hand in hand, we joyfully returned home. However, upon entering, we barely had time to set down our groceries when my father confronted us at the entrance with a furious demeanor. Joichu, how dare you? How dare you administer sleeping pills to Yuen at such a crucial time during the college entrance exams? My heart sank, and the smile faded from my face. Though I remained unperturbed, I had anticipated that Gu Yuen would surely retaliate against me upon awakening. What surprised me was that it was my father who was demanding an explanation. Come, I will take you to the hospital to apologize to Yuen and seek their forgiveness. I deftly evaded my father's outstretched hand and calmly replied, Father, I did not do anything wrong. I will not accompany you to apologize. My mother, realizing the situation, stepped forward to intercede between us. There must be a misunderstanding. How could Chu possibly harm Yuen? Father directed his ire towards her. This is all you're doing. You've raised such a good daughter, yet she doesn't share and has resorted to drugging a classmate during such a pivotal exam period. Yuen's homeroom teacher informed me that before he fainted, he had eaten the buns your daughter had given him. Who else could it be? Buns? My mother furrowed her brow and looked at me. Chu, was it the buns from the morning of the first day of the exams? I nodded, affirming yes. That is correct. Before I could finish, my father interrupted forcefully. See, she has already admitted it. If the Gu family hadn't been our longtime neighbors, they would have reported us to the police by now. Hurry up and apologize to me. My mother interjected, let our daughter finish. The situation is not as you portray. How is it not? Father insisted. Seeing my father adamant about placing the blame on me, I refused to yield to him. The buns that day were given to me by Gu Yuen. If you claim there was an issue with the buns, then that has nothing to do with me. Indeed. The buns were placed in Chu's arms by Wen Yinshu. I never bought any buns for Chu that day. My father remained unconvinced and insisted I apologize at the hospital. Unable to resist, I followed him. Upon entering the hospital room, I found a dejected Gu Yuen glaring at me with seething hatred. His gaze was harsh, frigid, entirely uncharacteristic of a typical 18-year-old.
Why?
How can this woman be so different from the portrayal in the original text? I want to kill her. If it weren't for her, I would certainly be able to enroll in Capital University. The voices in my head continued to curse me, referencing the original story. Wait. He had mentioned the original plot before. I was a supporting character. Could it be that the world I inhabited was originally a book? Before I could ponder this further, my father shoved me forcefully, causing me to stumble beside the hospital bed. Chu, what are you still standing there for? Quickly apologized to Yuen. The voice of Wen Yinshu, tinged with tears, came from my side. Sister, how could you do this? Do you not realize that you have ruined your brother's bright future? A somewhat deranged, yet fiercely sharp voice came from across the bed. Joichu, why did you harm my son? What have we ever done to wrong you? I'm sorry. Chu must have been joking and did not mean to harm Yuen, my father interjected, while simultaneously placing the blame entirely on me with a swat to my back. Joichu, apologize. Coughing, I took 2 steps back, yet did not concede as he had hoped. I did nothing wrong. Gu Annie, I am not even applying to the same university as Gu Yuen. I have no reason to harm him. Gu Yuen, Wen Yinshu, you both placed the buns in my arms. Do not act as if you have forgotten. And father, I do not understand why you always side with others, but even if you are my father, you cannot place an unfounded blame upon me. Gu Auntie's expression twisted into one of rage as she lunged at me, her sharp nails seemingly intent on tearing me apart. You are the one who harmed my son and you dare to argue. Such cunning at such a young age. Just wait until I shred you to pieces. Father symbolically attempted to intervene, still clinging to his original narrative. Wen Yinshu cried while manipulating the emotions of Gu Yuen and his mother. Gu Yuen's cold stare sent chills down my spine as he watched me dart to and fro. The voices in my head grew increasingly vile and agitated. I instinctively avoided Gu Yuen's hospital bed. However, the room was so small that they wouldn't let me near the door, and I found myself inching closer to the bed. In my attempt to dodge, I slipped, falling toward Gu Yuen. Out of the corner of my eye, I caught a glimmer of cold light. I twisted in midair with all my might, only to have my soft abdomen crash against the edge of the bedside table. leaving me unable to straighten my back.
Ah,
Blood. So much blood. Annie, you and you all, when the police arrived at the hospital room, they found a chaotic scene. Frantic medical staff, fresh blood covering the bed and floor, a distraught Wen Yinshu unable to stand, me crouched in the corner clutching my abdomen. My father and concerned relatives restraining Gu Yuan on the ground. A bloody fruit knife lay on the floor. Ichi, my daughter, are you alright? My mother seized a departing doctor, dragging him towards me. Doctor, please check on my daughter. Why does she look so pale? Let go. Do not hinder me from saving lives. The doctor, initially impatient, attempted to shake off my mother's grasp. However, upon assessing my condition, he quickly summoned a free nurse to take me for examination. Gu Auntie and I entered the operating room in succession. She was to treat her knife wound while I was to address my internal injuries. She had not harmed any organs, but due to that collision, I suffered a ruptured corpus luteum. The hospital was bustling with a constant flow of people, and witnesses were in no short supply. Gu Huayan had been incarcerated for the deliberate harm inflicted upon his mother. Similarly, Aunt Gu was sentenced for intentionally injuring me. Once her wounds healed, she faced the consequences of her actions. Despite being imprisoned, Gu Huayan remained intent on dragging me down with him. My actions were entirely justifiable, as I had been unknowingly administered a sedative by Zhou Yichu, which caused me to miss the college entrance examination. Thus, the primary culprit was Zhou Yichu. However, my mother had never possessed the skill to make steamed buns, nor had I purchased any on that day. Most importantly, sedatives are prescription medications and, typically, households do not keep such substances on hand. Upon investigation, it was revealed that Aunt Gu had been suffering from insomnia ever since Uncle Gu's passing. The hospital had her treatment records, and sleeping pills were discovered in her home. Due to Gu Huayan's cunning, he managed to secure a charge of intentional poisoning against himself. Initially, he had targeted his own mother, and once she regained consciousness and penned a letter of forgiveness, he might have escaped incarceration. Alas, he chose to court disaster. With both members of the Gu family imprisoned, their unit's welfare housing was understandably reclaimed and redistributed by the factory. During the investigation, I gleaned numerous insights from his inner thoughts, including the fact that Wen Yinshu's mother and Gu Huayan's mother were sisters in a blended family, lacking any blood relation. The reason for her involvement was simply that she held leverage over Wen's mother. Additionally, it became evident that he was not the original Gu Huayan but rather an intruder from another narrative. My true childhood companion, Gu Huayan, had succumbed to a high fever a year prior. This invader, in his original world, was merely a street thug in his 30s, ultimately killed in a brawl. His misplaced confidence in his academic abilities stemmed from the original storyline, where he succeeded in gaining admission to university. Moreover, after over a year of practical experience, he consistently ranked among the top students, regardless of his lackadaisical approach to life. I surmised that the efficacy of the sedative was also tied to his fortune. Had I truly been the one to administer the sleeping pills, he might not have fallen victim to them at all. During one of my visits to Gu Huayan's mother, I mentioned to her that Gu Huayan had begun to change a year ago. Don't you find it peculiar, Aunt? Is he truly still the Huayan we once knew? My father had long been entangled with his mother, and his seemingly generous care for them was not born out of neighborly affection. As the saying goes, with a stepmother comes a stepfather. Even before the stepmother entered our lives, my mother and I had already lost our standing with my father. With a target of suspicion in sight, gathering evidence was not an arduous task. On the day I presented the evidence to my mother, she wept for a prolonged period. The fabric of her shoulder was soaked and dry, repeatedly, as I stood by her side for as long as she cried. The following day, with puffy eyes, my mother confronted my father. That very day, they went to the Civil Affairs Bureau to obtain a divorce certificate. Given the strict enforcement of personal conduct policies, my father agreed to leave with nothing to preserve his job. My mother did not involve me in the process. I could only wait at home, and when she returned, I enveloped her in a warm embrace. Mother, you will always have me by your side. Clumsily, I prepared a modest meal for my mother, who was feeling down, almost slicing my finger while chopping vegetables. I will improve with practice, and together, we will thrive. After the admission letters were released, I was successfully accepted into a teacher's university. When Yinshu did not gain admission and, having taken care of Gu Huayan's mother until her discharge, she was sent back to the countryside. My graduation celebration was quite grand. This year, the exam questions were particularly challenging, causing many hopeful students to fall short of their aspirations. Consequently, a multitude of neighbors came to partake in my celebration, seeking to bask in the joyous atmosphere. Relatives from both sides of my family attended in considerable numbers. I maintained my original attitude towards my father's relatives, but shielded my mother from all relatives attempting to mediate. Later, I inadvertently learned that Gu Wai'an's mother had retracted her letter of forgiveness after a meeting with Gu Wai'an. Not only did she demand a harsher sentence for him, but she also claimed he was possessed by malevolent spirits. Ultimately, Gu Wai'an received a severe sentence, while his mother was committed to a psychiatric hospital due to her mental instability. Although the charge of intentional harm had been dismissed, she was left without any family. Once inside, her life would be one of confinement. I am unaware of the fate that befalls the mentally ill without family support in such institutions, nor am I particularly interested. The end of the narrative is here. Thank you for listening. If you enjoyed it, please subscribe and give a thumbs up to support. Until we meet again in the next story.